And Michael, let me just tell people about you, because, it's interesting. You actually lived here on Maui before.
I most certainly did.
You lived on Maui. You live in Sedona now. But you are really known as an expert on the Chapman Stick. And I remember when that first started coming out, and it was really quite an interesting evolution that's been happening, which you've been riding the wave of. And you have so many albums out. I think you're up to, was it 24 album CDs now, or is it more?
23 releases.
23, including the 2018 release of Serenity II, which I just love. And when you played here on Maui, you got to connect with people like you met, you worked with Dave Russell, who I love, who lives in Paia here.
Like a brother. I love that guy.
Isn't he great? Great guy.
I learned more from Dave than just about anyone.
Yeah, and Carlos Santana, got to see you play here, and Mick Fleetwood, and you've opened for people like the Beach Boys, the Goo Goo Dolls, and Henry Capono, and you got to introduce the instrument to Keith Emerson and Herbie Hancock and more. So, and how did you land up there in Sedona?
Many years ago, in another lifetime, I sold two-way radio systems, mostly to the U.S. government, and the U.S. Forest Service was one of my biggest clients. So I'd come up here to Sedona with 6 national forests. That's how I found Sedona back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, that would have been a good time to buy property.
It's always been one of my favorite places to be. So
yeah.
When we left the island after 6 years, here we are.
Well, there's a lot of great forests. There's a lot of beautiful hiking. I think it's one of the best places in the world for hiking, but fantastic forests and beautiful, beautiful country. So I'm sure you were busy with that. And I guess there's really an interesting musical scene there too, right? I mean, you have a little studio you do out of your place there in Sedona?
Yes, I do. Just a one-man operation.
Which is nice. I like it that way. It's nice to do it that way.
Well, thanks to Dave Russell, or I wouldn't know what to do with this stuff.
Oh, really? So you did the Pro Tools like he did?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is that hard to learn?
It takes a while.
Yeah.
It takes a while.
Yeah. So you get to play, too. I saw you when I was just there a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, at Tlaquepaque, which is my gosh, that is such a beautiful little location there in Sedona.
It really has its own spirit. I always tell people it's the jewel of Sedona. It's amazing how many people just drive past it and never go in there and walk around. It's so beautiful. The whole story about how the developer, Abe Miller, had his eye on that piece of land for many, many years. And it was owned by a nursery that was run by a family, and they had turned down every single developer. No way, we're never going to sell. And he kind of schmoozed them for years and years, and finally they decided to sell the property, but only with one condition. He could never cut down a single tree.
Interesting. I had not ever heard that story.
Yeah, he was a developer from Las Vegas, and he loved the real Tlaquepaque, which is a city right outside of Guadalajara in Mexico.
I didn't know that either. And, of course, Andrea Smith, who you know and I know, has a fantastic art gallery there.
And been there forever.
Yeah. She's 20 years, I think she says now. I can't believe that. But there's great restaurants and lovely artistic thing, and they make sure they have music going. In fact, I saw not only you play there, but a man who I'd never met before who was from Hawaii playing there, who has also landed up in Sedona now.
Small world.
Yeah.
I've met so many. When we first moved to Sedona, the street we first lived on and still do, I found 2 other people within 10 doors either way that were both from Maui.
Not.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
They had both lived on Maui, so we were, swapping stories.
Oh, yeah, well, both, paradise, what can I say?
Yeah.
But you just came back from a wonderful experience of going to New Orleans and got to play at the House of Blues, and you actually were one of the people who got to perform, how was that? That must have been great.
Oh, man, it was fantastic. It was Ono.
Was it Onalicious? Yeah.
It was fantastic. I feel guilty because I think I had more fun than even the audience.
Who did you play with?
Well, I did 3 songs solo, songs from the last 3 Serenity albums, and then I had invited Jeff Oster months ago and asked if he'd play with me, and so the original plan was to play my song "Wrapped in Love," which was Serenity II. And we planned on that, and then at the very last minute, we're kind of looking around going, this is the House of Blues. We're in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a perfect song for this. It goes like this. There is a house. So we snuck it in there. As a matter of fact, I just finished... I made 5 videos of my performance, including House of the Rising Sun with Jeff Oster, who was the Album of the Year winner.
Wow. He's a great player. Great player.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, he is.
And
he plays flugelhorn, right? Plays flugelhorn? Yeah.
Flugelhorn and trumpets.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a kid, I played the trumpet for 10 years in school band. So I know a good horn player when I hear one.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's found a niche for himself with some great musicians who are in the New Age community, such as Laura Sullivan. He did her Grammy Award-winning release that she did, Love's River, I think it was called. And he's been playing with people like Fiona Joy and other people as well, I believe. But I've never heard him play. That must have been really a great moment to be able to play the House of the Rising Sun in there, but with a kind of twist. So did you do it, the chapstick? Explain the chapstick, a Chapman Stick, for people who don't know what it is. Okay,
well, a chapstick is lip balm. Just want to remind you.
Yes.
The Chapman Stick is, I just tell people it's the best musical instrument you've never heard of. It was invented in 1974 here in Los Angeles, making it one of just a handful, 4 or 5 instruments ever invented in the U.S. And it's a stringed instrument with either 10 or 12 strings, and each hand plays independently just by lightly tapping the strings to the fret, so you can play full chords in both hands. So it's really a lot more like a piano than a guitar. You don't pick it, pluck it, or strum it, or I guess you could, but it's kind of counterproductive. And you just lightly tap. The left hand normally plays in the bass register, just like a piano, and the right hand plays in the melody or guitar range. It has a range of, the way I have it tuned, about 6 octaves. So you can take full chords with both hands, and you can add all of the expressive elements of a stringed instrument all at the same time. You can put, heavy vibrato on both chords in both hands. You can slide the chords like a pedal steel guitar. You can wildly bend the notes or slide them, and it's electric. It's wired in stereo, so you can use any kind of effect. It probably is the most versatile, most expressive musical instrument ever devised by man. It was invented by Emmett Chapman in Los Angeles. Emmett's still alive. He still makes these instruments, and you can find out all about him and the instruments that he makes at the website stick.com.
It actually almost looked like as complicated as the sitar when I first saw it years ago. I thought that's got enough strings to be a sitar, but it's not at all tuned or it doesn't work like a sitar, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's totally different. It's a completely new animal. It's in the guitar family of instruments, but it's definitely not a guitar.
And with these chords, you still can do solos. You can play individual notes to mix with the chords, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just think piano.
Yeah.
Think how pianists can play beautiful, large polychords that are almost impossible to play on a guitar, and then, add little runs and melodies anywhere in there that you want. You could play patterns in the bass. It's like a blank canvas. Just about anything musical that you could imagine, you could probably create somehow on the stick, and I guarantee you it'd be cool.
But is it difficult because you still don't see a lot of players playing it?
Well, there's not many instruments. Emmett's been making these instruments now since '74. There's probably about 8,000 of these instruments in existence.
Really?
Lots of them get gobbled up by museums. Matter of fact, our museum here in Arizona, the Musical Instrument Museum down in Phoenix, they've got 8 of them in an exhibit. And a lot of collectors. A lot of famous musicians even buy them, but very rarely do you ever see them
play them.
Yeah, use them or play them.
Have you been to that museum? I haven't been to it in Phoenix. I just heard about it about 4 months ago.
The Musical Instrument Museum is a national treasure.
Is
it's
it?
Like the Smithsonian of musical instruments. And I strongly recommend you, your listeners, anyone that likes music, spend at least a day down there. It's impossible to see everything in a day, and any opportunity I can ever possibly get to go there, I take it.
Wow, I have to go because I love musical instruments. I used to own a musical instrument store way, way, way back when, Westwood and on Westwood Boulevard, called Paulo's Music, and I loved it. I loved it. Didn't make much money on it, but did enjoy it, and it was quite interesting learning about the instruments. We even made beautiful rosewood guitars there and everything. But
it must have been beautiful.
Oh yeah, it was quite nice. And so I do love musical instruments, and I want to. I wish I could, but I know I probably won't get there. You know, you heard about the Metropolitan Museum of Art having that famous musicians show going on, where they're showing some of the great musical instruments, some of the great musicians of the world.
No, I didn't.
It's at the Met. Yeah, and they've got Jimi Hendrix and all these other great rock and roll musicians have them on display. And you'd love that.
I would.
Yeah, I would too. You know, it's like I could relate to that. I mean, that would be something to see, you know, and definitely something you wouldn't see here on Maui. It'd be like,
I worked in a music store, and that's how I found the stick. When I graduated high school, I worked for 1 year in a musical instrument store in Riverside, California.
Oh, I know Riverside, yeah.
I was 19, and one day I was on my break in a little back room, you know, stacks of magazines and boxes and stuff like that. And I saw this little ad. It said, "Tap softly, but carry a big orchestra." And it had this freaky Stickman logo. And I don't know, I was just, synthesizers were coming out just then, commercially, and I was just fascinated. So this was before the internet. We're talking, 1976. So you had to write a note and ask for information, put it in an envelope,
and
put
mail
a stamp on it, and wait.
Yeah.
And I got nice replies from Emmett and his wife Yuta, and months later I saw Emmett play at the University at Riverside, the Barn Coffee House. And I was sitting in the front row, and Emmett just blew me away. He was making all kinds of music with this odd-looking instrument, and I was dumbfounded. And I was hooked. That night, I was hooked. I go, I got to get one of those.
Wow. Well, it is beautiful, and you do such great work. How many, I guess with the 23 out, can people find them on your website, what you've got out, and more about you at your website?
Oh, absolutely.
You got a good website, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I just added 5, well, I think you'll find them on the website. They're actually on YouTube, which is hooked up to the website. But the 5 songs that I did at the House of Blues, I just put them up on YouTube today. So you can actually see my performance.
Oh, great. And what's your website?
It's Michael Kollwitz, Michael, and the last name is spelled KOLLWITZ.com.
MichaelKollwitz.com. And I'm really excited because I'm working on my new CD, The Gift of Hope. And you've been so kind to allow me to use a couple of pieces of your music to add to it. because I find it very, very, well, it's called Serenity. And it is uplifting and very much that feeling of peace I love so much. So it's really great to connect with you, and it was wonderful meeting you in Sedona, and congratulations on all the great stuff you're up to. We're just about out of time, but got to say aloha for now. But
aloha and hui ho. Hey, thanks, Cindy. I'm proud to be a part of the Hope Project.
Yeah,
I am very happy to meet you, and I was also happy to meet Beth for the first time just a few days ago.
Well, a big aloha to you, Michael.
All right, a hui ho.
A hui ho.